appeal, which is further south from us. So I just wanted to point out that I think some of the earliest that this was also either part of the refuge or it was part of our development. This is not part of our development and it's not the refuge. So most of our bordering is over here on the north end and it's pretty minimal compared to some of the other. And then just a couple of, just examples of what the buildings look like with Clarion. They have nice looking buildings, nice accents, lots of windows. So they're, in my opinion, as much as a warehouse can be visually appealing, these are pretty visually appealing developments. That's what I got. You got what I got.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it over to council.
Okay.
And we'll see what questions that we have. This is a workshop.
Yeah.
We usually have workshops, so we're not pressured to make a decision in 5 minutes after we finish. So this it is on the agenda for the 16th. That gives us a week to digest what we heard today.
Yes.
And ask any further questions of staff and the city manager in the next 7 days before we come back and have to make a decision.
Of course.
Okay?
So I like the process. We don't see this in a lot of municipalities, the ability to come in and talk about it before you have to go vote on it. So I appreciate the process.
Well, it's important to us because you are a good company,
Right.
a legitimate company. I've met the owners and I've told the council about the owners and the meeting I had with them. These are good projects.
Right.
But we have to determine if they're good projects in good locations.
Yes, sir.
So we'll open up the council and see what everybody thinks and what questions they have after your presentation.
Sounds good.
So thank you.
Yep. You want me to sit down or stand or?
Oh, you can sit down,
Take it easy.
you want to give less of a target, sitting down.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, council, any comments or questions?
Well, I can start. Ronnie, could you pull back up the current map to show where the properties are for me, please? There, that works right there.
Okay.
What road is this coming off here?
17. Well, this
It shows a.
is where 17 goes.
Okay, this is the alternative.
This
That's
is
a
a
cut.
back
Okay.
cut through. The Wildlife Refuge has their center back in there.
Okay.
I don't know if that road is actually used by that or otherwise, but
Well, it intersects back in with 17. So that's if you were going to go south on 17, you would come across and you would take that and then turn right to go south on 17.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, anytime anybody has something to say, because we are being filmed and all these microphones, I want to make sure we capture everything. So please, you're welcome to talk, but please come up when you do.
Okay.
and what I was going to add to that is there are some slight reconfigurations that may go in place due to the lighting and everything else. They're still working on some of those plans out there, but we are keeping a monitor on it. But that's why I want to make sure that there's other things going on out there as well. Hopefully make it better.
Are these two separate parcels currently?
They are two separate parcels. If you see in the, see if I can get back to the correct. Oops, I went the wrong way. See how they're divided currently?
Yes.
All right, then let's use the buttons. Maybe I can go the right way for that. This is how they're currently subdivided, and this is how they're proposed to be subdivided.
Okay. All right. Currently, the RV park is at the back end of the property, correct?
Currently, yes.
Yeah, that would be what, the north end? and sewer, proposal will be in place when? Do you have an idea on that?
I'm gonna ask Matt, because Matt and his group, the sellers, are handling the installation of the water and the sewer.
Either
Good
one.
morning.
And please introduce yourself.
My name is Matt Trumps, almost a lifelong Beaufortonian, 50 of my 56 years. My partner's John Sanford, also almost a lifelong Beaufortonian. We own High on the Hog. We own 5 RV parks, including this one, Somerville, Nutter, Georgia, Cordell, Georgia, Walterboro, and this one. We're permitted to build 250 spaces on site. We are about 90% complete with the back first phase, which is 80 RV spaces. The intent was to build the entire park out, and the intent will be to build the entire park out should this deal with Seafried not go through. We were approached by Seafried during the construction process, and we determined that we could live with the 80 spaces on the back. It would reduce the burden on Jasper County, providing services to an additional 170 RV spaces that we can and will build. For the last few years, we've negotiated with Beaufort Jasper over water and sewer. The sewer line is across the street. The original water service was about 30-some-odd-hundred feet down the road at Riverport. About a year ago, we completed installation, $1 million installation of an 18-inch water main that comes right to the, I guess that's the western side of our property. We are in the process of boring under, I guess that's 17 right now to bring the sewer line onto the property. And we will complete all of that in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Will the water line that you're bringing in be sufficient for your 77 units or the 144 and the warehouse?
The warehouse will have a tremendously less demand than the 170 RV spots that are going to be put in. The
I'm not
RV
talking
spots.
demand, I'm talking capacity.
Well, let's just put it this way. That 18-inch water line would probably serve all of downtown Savannah. It's a huge water line. I mean, I've never even conceived of an 18-inch water line, but we were able to serve the property with an 8-inch water line, and Beaufort Jasper basically encouraged us and made us pay for an upgrade of an additional 10 inches of service. So there's plenty of supply there.
Who gets the additional tap on fees if others tap on?
Well,
That's the key.
I'm waiting on a rebate from them right now, and it hasn't come in my checking account yet.
The access for the RVs into the back, is that an easement or is that how is that?
Our entrance today is where Seafried's entrance would be. We've already put that turn lane in the decel lane. It's already there. Should this deal go through with Seafried, as Doug said, we will shift our entrance down so that we each have our own entrance. But the entrance that Seafried would be using is there today.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
that.
to
I'm
answer your
just
question, yes, we would own the driveway,
Oh,
and they would have an easement to use it. So we're gonna build it on our property, we'll build it for them, and then we'll provide them with an easement to use it. That was part of our agreement to buy the property.
Okay. The other thing I have is on 17, I have a real problem with RVs doing that U-turn. My next door neighbor has a huge Ford F-650 truck and a 47-foot fifth wheel. They're not gonna pull no U-turn at that intersection. I'm not a big fan of U-turns any place, anytime for any vehicles. I know they are allowed, but with the amount of traffic that can be on 17, that's the main logging road. That's where all the logs are going, and they're gonna cut right through Alligator Alley over to the mills over there. I would rather see something where they would have to go further up and turn and do an actual turn than pull those U-turns. It scares me. But, that's if DOT says that's fine, I guess I'll have to live with it. I just don't have to drive it, and so I think sometimes those from DOT don't have to do it either.
I hear you on that, and look, I'm happy to have that conversation with our traffic consultant relative to that, but I do think that that's, the movement for the RV park, especially if it's only 70 spaces back there, is going to be fairly minimal. And I do think that the majority of those folks will be coming from the interstate down to the RV park. But you don't know that until you know that, right?
Yes.
And so, and to your point, but I'm happy to have the conversation with the traffic consultant,
Yes.
who can go have the conversation.
Yes, because it is a
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
You have a lot of new owners of RVs, and they're just not really sure what their vehicle can do. The last question that I have is with Clarion. There's been issues with Clarion locally here before.
That's Clarius. That's
I'm
Clarius.
sorry. Okay, that correctly. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
The
We don't
other-
like Clarius either.
All right, my other concern, not a concern is my question is currently the RV park is using, I take it, mountain sewage, or what are you using currently for the RV park as far as?
It's not.
It's not open yet.
It's not open.
So it'll be open in the next 45 to 60 days, the back phase,
The
80
back-
spaces.
The back phase, but, it will have water and sewer at
It
that
will be
time?
served with public water and sewer provided by Beaufort Jasper Water.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
I have a question, and Brenna, is there a way we can see where the growth boundaries are? The growth boundary for, city, do you have one?
We do not put it in. I will show you on, another slide, yes. It follows the city limits line, here. It comes down here, the bottom of Riverport, and goes down, 315, 17 to 315. So this is wildlife refuge property that sits between us and this property. And so the boundary comes right here and hugs the bottom and then goes down on 17. So that shows you the boundary.
Okay, so this property is outside of our growth boundary?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so currently we are trying to work with Jasper County to be responsible with each other's growth boundaries and not step on each other's toes.
This is outside of our growth.
Yeah. Okay, that's the only one that I have.
Thank you.
Do you have a question, Sean?
Actually, yes, a couple.
Yep.
But I want
Please.
to follow up on Val's, question, Brianna. I know you said y'all had met with Jasper County Planning.
Planning Commission did as
And
well
what,
as.
and what was, kind of following up on Val, what she said, what was the, I guess, like a consensus, I guess, about this?
This project has been discussed with the county as
Right.
well as us. After their discussions with the counties when they came to us, and I can't speak to the details of that, but in working with the county, they are not in favor of warehouses at this location either, was my understanding from, the members of the planning commission that attended our joint session.
And I'm familiar, based, with some of this area. I know where the name Lucknow came from, because I used to, back when I was a little boy, go back up in there and do some fishing and stuff.
Yes, sir.
And just out of curiosity in my mind, there's a real nice brick house there in Pond as you going around the curve. You know what I'm talking about, Brian? That's as you head around that curve, heading toward Port Wentworth. As soon as you get around the curve, there's a huge brick house and a pond, and it was Lucknow. And that's where the name Lucknow came from. And I just, in my mind, I'm trying to think of what relationship, because it's right now the house is abandoned. A lady passed away years ago. And, in my mind, I'm trying to think, because I know it bordered the, refuge. In fact, they had years ago, they had some issues about property changes and stuff. Are you familiar with that house I'm talking about?
I own it.
Oh, you own it?
Yes, sir. Yes, Yes, the entire property is about 70 some odd, or just under 70 acres. The house came with the property. It was all one parcel.
Right.
Owned by the same family. When we bought the property, the house was being lived in by a bunch of vagrants. There were,
Yeah, I know.
there were
It's
needles
sad.
everywhere, there were jugs of urine. I mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was something unbelievable. And it's all gutted now, it's been repainted, refloored. The intent was to use it as basically a rec center for the RV park, and that's probably what we'll do. We put the bathrooms in and some showers, and we probably put a laundry facility in the backside of it, pool room, just an open TV area and stuff like that.
And I'm so glad to hear that. I can go back in history and stuff, but that house was specially built. Every room in that house has a different type of wood.
Yeah, it's
Because the guy that owned it owned one of the logging lumber companies. So that house was specially built. I'm glad to hear that it's gonna be restored, but I was trying in my mind, because I knew the refuge and that house and then that property.
well, the door's open, you're more than welcome to go check it out.
Got a nice pond there on
But
the
you
right
wouldn't
side.
believe there was anything worth salvaging when you saw it about 3.5 years
Well,
ago.
it was sad, because I would go by there and I could see, you could see it, and it has a nice pond there on the other side too.
Yes.
I used to go in there quite a bit too. All right, thank you, sir. That kind of helps me with the concept of where and the refuge is located.
Glad to help.
And just to be clear, that house will remain on the back RV piece. It would not be a part of our development on the
I
front
was
side.
just trying to put
Yes,
the
sir.
refuge and the,
You wanted a big ring there.
it's sad, it's a wonderful house.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few, but we all received a rather lengthy letter from Nathan, Matthew actually, regarding their objection to this, but there's something that particularly jumped out at me, was one phrase. They referred to this as spot zoning, and, I understand that. And they say by building a warehouse on this parcel, Kingfisher Pond, a popular recreation area with hiking trails, would become sandwiched between two industrial sites. With 18 million square feet of warehousing already permitted within city limits, and with the open declaration from the developer that this would be a spec bill with no known tenants identified to occupy it as of yet, our question would also be, why here? Why this spot? There have been a number of things, and staff's familiar with it, and so is council, that I have objected to, not because it wasn't a good project, and not because it wasn't good people doing that project, and not because it was a good owner, but because it was in a bad spot. And if you had come to me however many years ago and say, I want to build a 350,000 square foot warehouse on spec, I would direct you to either Salt or Riverport. The water sewer lines are already being in there. That's where all the trucks are coming in and out of. That's where exit 3 will service it. That's where it belongs in terms of, okay, let's fill up that space first. Let's put the 18 million square feet first. All other considerations aside, I don't know how much this costs versus 30 acres in Riverport.
Right.
That's a cost benefit analysis that you have to do. But from a city planning standpoint, this is not where I would put 350,000 square foot.
Yes.
For a number of reasons. And that always comes back to being one of my concerns. It's not that it's not a good project. Is it the right place to go? Given the fact that we have so many available land for uses first thing about control and having the entry point. There's no better looking of the Gateway corridor than leaving the natural trees there. And again, that's something we've had to deal with also in the past about development such as this. I had one gentleman 3 years ago, said, well, what do you want to put there? And I said, trees, leave the trees there. Some things are in the wrong spot. So I think from an entry point into
Yeah.
our city, what's there now is probably a better entry point visual than a 350,000 square foot building. That's just my own opinion.
Well, there will be certainly, if I may, there will certainly be undisturbed buffer between the road and the building. I'm not even sure you'll be able to see the building, but it certainly, you'll still have a lot of trees on the site, certainly between the building and the road.
I understand, but it will be quite visible. And you know, again, it's what's better,
Right,
you know, A or B.
right.
And that's the issue. Sorry, my notes turned off. There is a low service need, and that's a good point that you made. But there also is a low service need for RV parks too. And I think the job estimates, we have a pretty good idea of what subdivision, depending on what kind of business goes in there. If it's straight warehousing in and out, I think your estimates are a little high based on what we're getting at Riverport. But that's neither here nor there. The taxes, it's very true. But again, if you built 350,000 square foot building in Riverport, the taxes we'd still have the same taxes. Again, it comes back, okay, where's the best thing, not for you and not for the owner, but for the city. I still think that the traffic, I made the same note as Steve. Those big RVs making U-turns, that, I will seriously object to that. If we have any input into DOT's decisions like
Right.
that. We see that there was a big accident yesterday. People coming out of these side roads onto 278, making left-hand turns onto median cuts are something that were done by DOT years ago, and they're terrible, terrible risk. I said this to the owners when we met, I think we need, in terms of, okay, what's the best use when it comes to traffic? You know, I know that you say that having those big trucks are professional drivers. I can tell you, go to exit 5 and watch those professional drivers say, I'm bigger than you, I'm going out in the road, you better stop. And that's why exit 5 is a constant problem. So those professional drivers, I think what we need is some data. Okay, if we added however many RV spots there versus adding warehouses, and they're not all gonna go to Port Wentworth. If they come in and they put their loads in this warehouse, now those loads are gonna get distributed to a lot of different points. So those may be smaller trucks, but they're gonna be going in all directions. And they're coming out at that point that we all are very concerned about the turn area of that. With the planning commission was concerned, I know, you know, in our previous meetings that concern has been, and I don't think that concern, from what I've heard, for me, has been alleviated. So that's my thoughts. I've got some severe reservations, not about you, not about the owners, not about the project. It's about the location for me.
Right. Yeah, I hear your points on all that. I think that, you know, obviously when we started this process, there weren't opportunities to buy anything in Riverport or Salt.
And I I don't know that.
Yeah.
It may be twice the price, I
Yeah.
don't know that either.
Yeah.
But again, I'm thinking of the city.
Yeah.
Where, if Project A, where's the best place to put it? I've had big fights with the county over the years, on a couple of things. I've had big fights with my own council, all with that central point being and I'll give you one example. There was a landowner who's a really good guy. I think he recently died at age 98, I heard. He donated some things to the city, and I thought what he wanted to do vehemently.
Right.
Because it was in a bad location. So, I lost that, by the way, but, I don't wanna beat the dead horse. That's my concern is I'm not thrilled with the location.
Okay, understood.
Anyone else?
My only thoughts are is, we rely on our staff, very professional staff, and our planning. I have to put some credence into what their thoughts were in my final decision. I'm not saying yes, no, or maybe so, but I do have to take their concerns to heart, and I think there are some valid concerns yet about this. That's all.
Understood.
Good point, Mr. Mayorman. We're not here to make decisions. I'm glad you said that. You know, because even though I said certain things, we've all said certain things, it doesn't mean we've come to any final conclusions. We have to be fair to you and take all this home. Wake up at 3 in the morning and say, we know what to do and have this, but we will give this the proper consideration that it deserves.
I know you will, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes, sir.
One more thing, if I may. I was just gonna say, from a traffic standpoint, the 250 RV spaces are gonna have an impact on traffic. So there's gonna be a traffic impact on that site, regardless of whether it's Seafried or our development. We did the other day, and I'll be very brief with this, we believe the traffic impact of the additional 170 RV spaces is gonna greatly outweigh the impact by the warehouse. We own a park in Somerville. It's on a 70-acre tract. It's at the convergence of Highway 17 and Highway 61 on the outskirts of Somerville. Very similar site. That site is 88 spaces. We have cameras on both entry points. And we did a study on October 6th. I say a study, I'm talking about a guy with a legal pad and a hash, and marking down hashtags. There were 350 ins and outs that day of the 80 spaces, or 88 spaces. So if you almost triple that, you've got literally 800 ins and outs of RVs and cars. That's not just RVs coming in and out. That's also, most of what you will have here, unlike Savannah Lakes, and that's why I found like the traffic study comparison of Savannah Lakes, which is an RV resort, versus this is an RV living area. Most of our people are going to be workers, white and blue collar workers who are commuting into Savannah, Hardyville, Bluffton, Hilton Head, Pooler. So they're there, but they're also going to work and coming back each and every day. Probably only 20% of our RV park will be resort people, people coming in just for a weekend or something like that. So just wanted to put that.
No, and as I said to you when we met before, what this council needs to deal with is not your opinion, which may be well-founded, that we need a third-party traffic analysis so that the council can deal with the actual data. If that's a point that you want us to consider, then the burden is on you to prove that with a third-party study. I think we as a council, while we may respect your anybody from the public, would like to say anything? There will be, as part of first reading, the public will have another opportunity, as well as the developer and landowner to, add any additional information at that time as well. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Mr. Gruber, you want to take us to item number B?
Yes, sir. As part of your strategic plan for this year, one of the capital projects that was identified as a priority was the development of a splash pad. And so we've been working with staff over the last several months to kind of identify the appropriate location, the theme for the location, and then ultimately the infrastructure that would need to go there. And so what we're hoping to present to you today is our conceptual plans for this proposed improvement. If we can get guidance from you today that we are headed in the right direction, next steps for us following this would be to engage a formal designer to go ahead and actually create the plans that would be necessary to then have a bid package put out, and then we would come back with the cost of construction. And so this is just making sure that before we start spending money going in that direction, that we are headed in line with your expectations and what you want to see for this area. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jody and let her explain the concept for the project.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. It's a great summary, and good morning, council, mayor. Let's have some fun. I know you all have been waiting for this. The process seems a lot longer than it will take moving forward. From this point, if we get your concurrence, we will move into an actual formal design. So yes, we met in September of '24 to discuss the location. It was chosen at the TV Carroll Park next to Old City Hall. In July, the budget was passed for us to get some of these design concepts rolling. And here we are today seeking approval on what we've developed so far to make certain that we are in line with your thoughts, your opinions, and of course, if there's anything that you'd like to change. So with that, the TV Carroll Park area, this overall site plan, oops, what happened? The top button's supposed to go, isn't this the pointer at the
Yeah, you
top?
have to hold it down, it's got a little delay.
And Jody, if you want to borrow mine, if it makes it easier.
It's so strange, yeah,
It's just got a delay. It has, yeah.
okay, I'll hold it down, let's hold it.
There.
Okay, there we go. All right, so here we used to have the old City Hall building, and we're proposing to put a new building there that would house restrooms, the pump station, and a little flex space for our staff. And then an organic shaped splash pad, which in the video that I'm gonna show you, we did not incorporate that organic use, but again, these are all concepts that are gonna change. Our library area, we talked about opening up this butterfly garden and incorporating that into this area for picnic tables so that families can go and have lunch if they're spending the day, and then the train would remain in its location here. Obviously, because this is gonna be a hotspot for the community, we need parking. So this site development was not something that was presented to you back in our September meeting, but it's crucial to this project that we incorporate the site development now, because we already have a parking problem down on Martin and Main Street. So with that, I'm gonna show you a video that was put together by a manufacturer who Jennifer's been working with, and she can come up and talk to you about some of the equipment that she's familiar with or that she's researched, because this is one of many videos that were presented, but we find that this one, they hit all the asks that we had. So let's get it started. Not sure why the sound is off, but no. As you can see that we incorporated the train design, and of course there's a lot of ADA compatible elements to this. The water tower is something, we have another concept design to show you that's unique to the old lumber company. Lots and lots of ground sporters, as well as some of these play decks.
Some of this equipment is cutting edge and some of it's been around for a long time. But I think there's a little bit of everything for every person, whether they're young or old. And I have a lot of experience in splash pads out west. They were in every park in Las Vegas. I can tell you that they're very, very popular. This is going to be a showstopper in my opinion. So, well, there's lots of branding opportunities, and those ideas have been kicked around. But I'll let Jennifer come up, and if you want to talk a little bit about your experience with some of these manufacturers that you've been speaking with, and we only brought one of the many videos, but I'll let Jen talk.
Yeah, Jody and I are both working together on it. When we go to our big national conferences, we engage heavily with all of our product vendors. So we worked with Vortex and Playworld. This video, I think, was by Waterworld. So there's a lot of different things that are going to come together. But if you have any specific questions about any of it, I'm here to answer that. If there's any questions about like the materials, the maintenance, anything like that, I can certainly talk to that. We're certainly not at that stage yet. Like I said, we're both tag teaming together. We kind of did all the conceptuals before, so we can bring you a product that you can get excited about. And then once we have the concurrence from council, as Jody mentioned, we'll put all this together, and we could have an even bigger design that comes back to you. So this is just a reference point. We don't want you to get so excited and think this is exactly what it's going to be. It could be even bigger and better than what you see. So, but if you have any specific questions about any of the materials or any of the maintenance, abilities that might go in, the staffing, anything like that, I'll be happy to answer any of those questions that you might have.
Could you show, I know Josh, you showed me and I think council could you show some conceptual ideas about the building?
Yep, that's next.
That's
Okay,
next.
let's go. We're just gonna move forward.
Couldn't leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I discussed, the water tower, Mr. Gruber came up with this old copyright of the Hardyville Argent Lumber Company, and we could potentially wrap the water tower on the splash pad to resemble this and pay homage. And then, of course, we're going to go into the building, the depot. Some inspiration photos that were brought forward are the Estill station and the Pritchardville station. And hot off the press, I have a Hardy station picture. Yeah, I unfortunately don't have it in the video. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like one of what you presented?
Is it John's truck?
Actually, my grandfather, it really is. He worked there 40 years.
Yeah, probably is it.
So what's really cool too is I learned that our judge has a piece of wood from the Hardy station. So it's
That this judge got.
is that from you?
Yeah.
Okay, look at you.
Actually, I went out to that depot was still standing then. And we went and got Nancy and I think Diane, and we got some pieces from there.
I love it. I think it's something that would look great encased and as part of the design.
And also I had told Josh Tuesday, I think, and Harry too, but I know somebody that's actually got pieces of the gauge, the track from the Argent Lumber Company.
Wow.
Because it was a special made, it had to be narrow, but it had to be flexible going through the swamp. And he has some pieces that he's willing to donate.
Oh, fantastic. That'd be great. That would be really fun. Put something like that on display. So we'll move into the concept drawings that Court Atkins presented. And this perspective is if you're parked on Martin Street and your back would be to our EOC headquarters, fire station, fire headquarters. So everything, of course, this is another perspective when you're standing on Martin Street. This perspective would be if you're standing on Main Street, looking into the splash pad in the depot. And again, from kind of the corner of Main and Martin Street. You'll have two entrances, a gate off of Main Street, you can see the archway there, and then the gate off of Martin Street. This is if you're standing on the splash pad and you're looking in, you can see where parents would have a nice shady area to sit at the depot watching their children, and they're a little elevated, which gives them a good perspective to see the entire splash pad. There'll be some fans going, there's some lockers in case people wanna lock up their phone or their wallet, anything that they don't want getting wet. And then, of course, the visibility out to Main Street. Looking into the depot from Main Street, you can see that nice T.D. Carroll Park archway. And again, another perspective. The floor plan for the building, it would show a men's room, restroom, the pump room / janitor room, and then that concessions ticketing area is kind of a flex space. And some of the conversations have been about a Kiwanis Club or some of the other partners that we have potentially utilizing that to sell concessions, which would be, you know, very light snacks, prepackaged items, nothing that's being cooked. And that's all 5 of the perspectives on one sheet. And then we get into the budget. So I know that our original conversation with you back in September, we talked about $1.5 million. But when you add the site work where you're doing a lot of parking and infrastructure for the stormwater, and then you add a new building, the cost goes up significantly. So I tried to put at the top the design costs, because you have to have a full package for this. You would need your civil, your architecture, your landscape architecture, your MEP, and then the splash pad equipment is a separate design. So that's roughly 15% of your construction cost. If the construction costs are somewhere around $2 million, I guesstimated that at $300,000. And the depot at about $850,000 cost, your splash pad at about $250,000 with the equipment that we showed. We actually did get a estimate from the water play folks with that video that they sent, and it was right around $250,000. The site work, your parking, your landscape, your fencing, it's around $900,000. Site work is very expensive. FF&E, that's all of your shade sails, your picnic tables, your trash cans. That can vary, but I put in a pretty conservative number of $150,000. And then something that you're not familiar with is seeing a contingency. So that contingency gives us a little bit of room in the event that we have some unforeseen conditions. And that could be anything with utility conflicts, bad soil. Until we start geotechnical exploration, we won't know. And then the permitting and tap fees have gone up drastically. So $18,000 is a conservative number, but realistic. So that's where it puts you at your total build at around 2.7 to 3 million. And then your annual recurring costs, again, this is kind of a Jennifer slide, but we would be increasing staffing given that we're adding an entire facility with the Memorial Park and with our splash pad. And then, of course, the routine and preventative maintenance at about $15,000 a year. And then your CPO contract for water quality, that's like having a full service that comes in to test and make certain that there's no concerns. And then your utilities, we're gonna use roughly $10,000 a year on water and power. So that $167,000 number is just something that we know you need to see that in the annual budget. And I'm open for questions if you have any, or if you wanna kick around some additional ideas. If you'd like to see the video again, I'm happy to go back to that.
Council?
I have a question. We had stormwater storage issues with the Veterans Memorial Park. With what they're putting in now, will it be able to handle the additional hard surface for our parking?
It's a great question, and yes, because that municipal hub that was designed, they incorporated a rather large area for that retention basin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't been out there recently, this retention basin back here grew substantially.
Yes, I just want to just make sure that, so
In
before we
fact.
do, because I think the concept of what we are doing between the potential splash pad and Veterans Memorial Park, and we discussed it earlier, Mayor, is that will bring businesses in.
Absolutely.
When, with our Main Street projects and the public-private partnership, we have something that others don't. And it will bring the businesses in. When they see people, they're gonna wanna come to where those people are. I think the splash pad, when I first came on council, it was just a thought. Well, now here we are, almost 3 years later, we are to the point where we're gonna make this decision. Yes, is it expensive? Absolutely. But the benefit to the city as a whole, I believe, far outweighs the cost of this.
Thank you, and I agree. I'm glad you brought up the stormwater. The thing about that retention basin, since construction has commenced on our Memorial Park zone over here, I've had hundreds of people ask me, why does this have to be so big? And it's number one, capturing what should have been, and then number two, capturing our future growth. And we know because of this municipal hub area growing, we wanted to oversize that for the time being.
The other thing I wanna say is, just like the Juju Hudson, many cities talk the talk. We do this, we walk the walk. We have shown what can be done, what others should be doing, but we're the ones that are doing. And the ADA accessible portions of the splash pad, thank you. You know my feelings. That's it.
You
Anyone
get me
else?
emotional.
With that, I do.
Anyone else?
I think that with our rec center, that investment some time ago, and this investment, I think is a broader commitment to the quality of life for our residents and the kind of image we want to have as a city, and it's the right evolutionary kind of thing, in my opinion, without being revolutionary, so it fits really nicely.
100%, we are competing with the finest.
Anyone else?
Just the hours and times of operation. What do you envision, like, how many months out of the year and how will that flow?
So we're in the early stages of planning all that stuff, so there's an opportunity to engage, to see exactly what council wants, but we would typically operate it. Because we're in the low country area, our timeline's a little bit longer, so it could be as early as late April, all the way into October timeframe.
Okay.
But the hours of operation will probably typically right around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. To cease operations, we'll certainly have lights and all that kind of stuff. But again, that conversation we'll have probably through more workshops as we get closer to develop that, so that everyone in the community is very comfortable with how we're going to do that, and the user groups that are around us as well, and the homeowners. So we have a very good product that everyone can be happy about and not complain.
Okay,
So.
the additional staffing that's gonna be required for this, the months that we don't operate, will those people still remain with us?
Yes.
Good, because that's a question that I asked.
And we will, of course, bring all that information back. We've had several conversations with Josh already about that. I want to make it very clear that we're not just hiring somebody for the splash pad itself. With Memorial Park coming on and the splash pad as well, we're certainly going to look at either 2 full-time or maybe 1 full-time and a part-time, trying to figure out how we're going to navigate that. But those folks will be working in all of our park district. So we'll continue to use them for Millstone, use them back here. For all of you that were there that saw Juju, it's now become a very particular piece. So we want to make sure that we maintain that properly. So they will be moving around all over the place. So yes, hopefully that will answer that question.
John, I'm sorry, John, you were a big proponent of our city hall there. You're very well, or you're happy with this concept, with this changing in here?
Fortunately, and I get emotional too, but fortunately Josh warned me ahead of time and took me back and showed me what y'all seeing today. I guess he knew you needed to warn me, but anyway, no, I'm very pleased. I think Jen and Josh and Judy did a good job with this.
Also too, just to give a quick excerpt, I think Jody has an image too. This is something that Jody, I, and Josh sat down and talked about. history is very important, that's why the whole imagery of the train came about. But there are opportunities throughout where we can actually have part of that history born, whether it's, imagery, anything like that, the pieces of the old Hardy Station, things like that we can really incorporate, including imagery of the old City Hall as well, so that people that do visit the site understand that it's not just a splash pad. It's a history, it's a historical portion of what the city is, and we want to make sure that we incorporate that, including that it is and was the T.V. Carroll Park, so it's very important that we continue with those traditions, so we've captured that.
This is hard to see, but one of the ideas in the concept is showing all of the train station stops. And so as if you're sitting here on the bench deciding where you would like to stop. Historically, those are the kinds of things that they've been digging up and then trying to do renderings on the back portion of the building that resemble our locomotive train. Again, somewhat fuzzy, but you can see they're depicting the old Hardyville, and I think it's a charming way to pay homage to where we were and where we are today. So another thing about security, obviously you can see the fencing that will keep all of the children inside. I want to highlight that I know there's electronic ways to decide how many people are visiting, but we are putting in turnstiles for additional security and for traffic counts to see how many people are utilizing the facility. But I think that to the point of security, yes, we're right next to where our police and fire are sitting, but we're gonna have cameras and the area will be surveillanced, so.
I had a question for the tech person that we get. In the multiple use of this particular position would be a fairly skilled person with a lot of rec and one, are they hard to find, and the kind of skill level you're looking for in that?
Yes. It's always hard to find good people, but yes, they will have a lot of that tech knowledge back with them. Our CPO official, whoever we decide to go, I'm sure we'll do a contract and put that out to bid as well. But all of those folks that will be working with us, all highly trained, understand, and of course we also work with our Public Works Department as well on things that maybe we can't. So Carla's here as well, so we definitely all work together as one unit. But yes, they will be very skilled, and we're going to make sure we get the best people for the projects.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think, I'm not sure of the timetable, but back when we first started talking about the rec center, we took a community survey. And as Jen, you probably remember, the number one thing that people, the community asked for in that was a pool. Okay, we all understood the difficulties of putting a municipal pool in. Also, we knew at that time that land had been donated to the YMCA. So we felt that the pool side would be neat, but it didn't solve the day-to-day downtown where our children are located need for some place to cool off. And, there's Greenville, we went up there and saw they have a beautiful splash pad facility. Savannah has them, and what you experienced in Las Vegas, and Jen, you a lot of experience. I think that, to me, this is money well spent. Okay, yes, but to do, and I heard it's this way, I think it was very creative. I compliment whoever came up with these ideas. I think it's just wonderful, and I've always been in favor of it, and after seeing this, even more so. I do have one concern that I brought up at Memorial Park, and perhaps we need to take another good look at it. What is our vagrant ordinance, and making sure that we protect both parks. This may have a little different concern than Memorial Park, but when you have children, you have these are the kinds of things that we should have people's names on, those kind of people who have gave a lifetime of, service to our community.
Yes.
And Dr. Carroll certainly fits that bill. That's all I have to say.
Well, Mayor and Council, thank you for the feedback that you've been providing today. Knowing kind of where you stand now, we have funding in this year's budget. I think it's around $300,000 if I recall.
I have enough time.
Oh, 1.5.
300,000 is for fiscal year 27. Fiscal year 2026, we budgeted 1.5
Okay.
million, so Jody certainly has plenty to start with.
Well, that's it. I was gonna say that. So
Yes.
with the funds being there in our capital projects budget, knowing the comments that you've provided today, our next step will be to engage the services of the designer to go ahead and put together a complete set of plans. We can bring those back to you again just to check in and say, now that we've gone from concept to actual design, here's what we're gonna bid out. And so here in a couple months, hopefully we'll have something that we can then take to the market,
Yep.
get some bids back, and then we'll be rocking and rolling.
Yeah, so our RFP process takes approximately 30 days. I put out a request for proposal for design services, and it's a comprehensive package like I explained. Those prices will come back, and we do a scoring committee to choose that designer, and then we'll bring that to you because that cost will be higher than $100,000. So you'll approve the selection of that design team, and then they get rocking on our construction documents and our permitting process, and then we can start putting it out for bid.
Could we as council get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation?
100%, we will
And-
make that
And with the
accessible.
videos, please.
Sure, I'll send that to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that is, the point that you made about, enhancing the desirability of businesses to come downtown, and we're all trying to promote, I think is a good point. This will bring people downtown. And all these new developments we have, even though we have parks planned within them, this is, they'll come into downtown. And they'll want places to eat and places to, you know, frequent.
278 will turn left and right now instead of
Yeah, instead
all
of
turn.
going,
They're coming this way.
yeah.
It's a great welcome to the downtown district.
It certainly is. It's great, great. And everybody who comes down Main Street to City Hall will see this and show them how proud we are.
They won't be able to escape it.
Right?
Beautiful design, like I said, the whole hub area, that whole design and how we're restructuring, it's definitely with intention and creativity, to design and bring more people to our area.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's go on to, we've added something, Mr. Gruber, is there something, one other point, do we have to adjourn this and go to a regular meeting? Is that the reason I got two agendas here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have a special meeting so that you can actually take formal action.
Okay, so this workshop, I'd like a motion to adjourn the workshop.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next,